This is Local Biz Now Special Edition, the signature 9th annual small business event of the year. And I am so pleased to have Tracy, Bill, and Ben with us. And we've got a special guest. He's going to replace Meredith. Now, I got to tell you something, Bill. That's going to be a real hard task. But you and I know this man. I'm going to let you introduce him. I'm positive he's up for the challenge.
Yeah, my friend Chuck Gallagher. Grow your business through the magic of questions. Want to unlock the secrets of massive traffic? You won't want to miss this intensive program that shows the simplicity of using technology to grow your business. Seen on CNN, Fox Business, and heard on NPR, Chuck Gallagher is a leading business strategist known for his insight on what can grow your business. Having been a founder in a startup that was merged into a public company where Chuck serves as sales and marketing VP today, Chuck knows how to grow from an idea into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Likewise, as owner of Primeau Productions, a leading video production company that produces powerful marketing videos nationwide, Chuck is going to share his insights that can elevate your business. And Chuck, I'm sitting here looking at you. You're not in the room with us, but I see the Beatles poster in the background. I'm going to tell you something. You've known us for 3 years, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret, a little bit of insight. Joe is the walrus.
Oh, that's awesome to know. Wow.
So, Chuck, thank you, my friend. I got to tell you something. You know, we brag on Senator Tom Tillis every time he calls. He answers and says yes. But the truth is, buddy, you've been there for me. You helped me either find a speaker or do the speaking. This is an example of that. Show Meredith's book for just a second, Chris. I read Meredith's book. Then I went and searched her online, found her stuff online, liked it. Then I called you and say, hey, what do you think of Meredith? Because I found out you were the one that produced a lot of her stuff. And you said, Joe, she's simply awesome. And so even when I don't ask for you to get involved, you're still involved in this, buddy. Thank you so much.
Hey, listen, it is my pleasure. And I don't want to say this just to make sure, because you said, I'm replacing Meredith. It is crystal clear that I am not nearly as attractive as Meredith. But I do produce her videos, and we did that video. So what you saw was produced here in Greenville, South Carolina with Primeau Productions. Now, if that isn't shameless promotion, I don't know what is.
Go right ahead, buddy. This is a small business of the year event. If we can't promote ourselves, what good are we doing here, my friend? Thank you so much, Chuck, for doing this. Also, let me remind everybody, Chuck's company, Primeau Production, is one of our sponsors. Absolutely. And has been for 3 years running. I've got a couple of extra co-hosts, Chuck, that you don't know. Put them on the air, Chris, so that Chuck can see them. Tracy, you might remember Tracy from last year. And yes. Ben McDonald, who you have not met. Well, Ben said, who is that guy? And I said, oh, well. And before I got anything out of my mouth, Bill said, convict. Joe's favorite convict. And so you still are remembered as Joe's favorite convict, even though that's been many years ago since we were introduced for that. So you have many lives, buddy.
First introduction, Chuck. That's the best.
What can I say? It's a great introduction. And the other day I had an attorney who said, have you seen his videos? He walks out in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. And I'm like, are you kidding? Are you using that against me? I have already outed myself.
Well, let me say something,
That's why
Chuck.
I get hired.
What Joe Bagdo does down in here in the studio is sometimes criminal. So there you go.
Oh, brother, let me tell you, there's a lot of folks out there that just haven't gotten caught. But that's a different issue for a different time.
So Chuck, let's try and do some justice to Meredith's talk, okay? You and I spoke about Meredith the other day, and you said something that was intriguing. You said, Joe, there's a lot of speakers out there, and it's been very, very difficult, and somehow she's found a way to succeed in very difficult times. What do you think she's doing differently? Because it seems to me like she is my kind of woman. She's practicing what she preaches.
She absolutely does. And here's the thing. In the video that you just saw, it is incredibly important to understand who we are as human beings and how we connect with each other. And that's what she was talking about. But let me tell you a little backstory. So the pandemic hits, and for those of us who are professional speakers, if there are no meetings, there are no presentations. Or we do this virtually, much like we're doing today, okay? So most speakers were like, oh, what are we going to do? There's less business, income is down, etc. But Meredith looked at it from an entirely different perspective. And she told me, I've got the 70-30 rule. And I was like, okay, Meredith, explain that to me. And here's what she said. She said, I identify at the beginning of the year 100 companies, organizations that I would like to do or work with. So, number one, instead of, and I'm making this fun for me, but instead of going out in the woods with a shotgun and just shoot what you kill or eat what you kill, she is focused. She knows who her target market is. That's number one. Number two, once she identifies her target market, she makes sure to connect with her target market every month consistently. Now, seems easy enough, but here's what she does. 70% of the time, well, technically it's 75, but most of the time she is giving them something. I am going to give you an article for the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce. I am going to appear on a radio show. I am going to provide something of value to you that you do not pay for. Now, the 30% of the time, I'm going to ask you for your business. In other words, I want to be a resource first so that you look at me as a valued, trusted partner, and then I want to ask you for your business. And the thing that's happened is if Meredith were here and you said to her, Meredith, what was your year like this year? 2021 going into 22. Best year she's ever had. Most people would say my year is down by 60, 65%. Best year she ever had. And the other thing, Joe, and I'll shut up here because it is a conversation, but the other thing that she was real smart about was she looked and said, what's happening in the marketplace? Because we need to use technology. So Meredith decided, I'm going to take my content and I'm going to record it. So if someone says to me, hey, can you be here on May the 4th? May the 4th be with you, by the way. But can you be here on May the 4th for this program? She could say, well, yes, but it would have to be via video because Meredith's in Madrid, which is a great place to be if you've had the best year you've ever had, but yet she doesn't miss out on being able to provide her content and get the exposure that any of us who are in business look for. So she's really smart. I give you content, I ask for the sale, and I make sure that I can provide it in a multitude of ways so that I don't miss out on opportunities.
So Chuck, you talked there about Meredith and then other speakers as well, right, that have used technology as things have gone more virtual to be able to have the best years ever. I want to talk a little bit about your role and your side in this, right? So we already mentioned that you did this video for her and you do others as well. So what role do you play for these speakers to help build the right content using the right technology so they can do these types of events and expand their capabilities?
So let me answer the question this way. First, it's twofold. Number one, it isn't just for speakers. The real question is, for any small business, how do I differentiate myself and how am I found? And I'm going to completely change gears for just a second to answer your question. One of the things, for example, that we do, it's very labor intensive, but we create a video a day, 5 days a week for a year for a small business. Okay, now that's a lot of videos. They're short, they're 2 minutes, they go on YouTube, but think about it. If you were a realtor in the Lake Norman area, and there's lots of realtors in the Lake Norman area, and you wanted to be the one that got most of the listings, and you weren't the number one listing agent now, how would you get your name out there? And the answer is, if you answer questions that people are searching for, they'll find you. So there's multitudes of ways to, and this is part of what we do to answer the question, is we help you find the questions that are being searched for. You formulate the answers. We create the content. We post it for you every day on YouTube. Now, there's a gentleman out in Salt Lake City. He's a child psychiatrist. And what's happened in his case is he's gone doing this process and answered questions that people are asking. Like, my 15-year-old's giving me a hard time. Can I smack the crap out of him? Well, maybe that's not the question, but, actually people...
Oh, that'd be my question.
Yeah. So, Paul would come online and say, okay, here's the question for today. Can I smack my 15-year-old? Because they just keep back talking. And the answer is probably not, because people will pick up the telephone and Child Protective Services will be there. But let's talk about realistically what you can do. And what's happened is he's ended up with having close to 2 million followers. He is making 6 figures off of ads from YouTube. But the real benefit is, in his world, he has become the go-to guy in that particular arena. And all he's done was just answered questions people already had. He just made sure he was the one answering them more than his competitors. So in small business, do what others are unwilling to do.
Chuck, we talk about Meredith and how she successfully changed, but I watched you do the same thing, buddy. I mean, you were a national speaker. That's how we met, right?
Right.
Next thing I know, you're starting this production company because you see the future. Now, you didn't know there's going to be a pandemic in a month, but you you saw the future of where this was going and started to put your organization together about 3 years ago. Talk a little bit about that startup.
Well, so Joe, here's the thing. Some people can look at me now, it's an interesting story and we've had a little fun with it today, but it is impactful when I have the opportunity to speak. But let me be practical. At the ripe old age of 64, I know you look at me and think, gosh, 48.
I wouldn't think anything less than 63.
Oh, there we go, Joe. You my man. But here's the thing. At some point in time, people are going to look at me and say he's male, pale, and stale. The only advantage I've got, I've been to jail. That gives me just a little competitive advantage. But there is nothing that keeps the ideas and the creativity from blossoming out. So perhaps there's a point at which someone says, well, I'd really like to have a 45-year-old or a 38-year-old or someone younger that could more easily connect with the audience. I get it. I understand that. But video allows a lot of creativity, and really and honestly, in my world, I'm surrounded by a bunch of young folks, male and female, who are brilliant at video editing. And they bring all kinds of great creative ideas to the table that work, but they don't know how to run a business. Say, I know how to run a business, but I can't do what they do. So in my world, it works like this. I want to teach them how to run a business while they help grow this, so that in a decade, they become owners of this business. And I have created a legacy that allows other people to grow and to be able to hire more people and to do what those of us who are entrepreneurs in small business do. We make things better.
Chuck, one of the principles of Meredith's books was anticipating change, and you just spoke to it. I mean, when Joe just talked, you were going out and speaking to groups. You had to change, you had to adopt, and then create a message virtually. And so,
right.
Successful businesses have got to adapt. We're going to continue to see that in the future. We had one pandemic, but there's going to be something coming down the pike that you're going to have to anticipate that change and adapt to it to be successful.
That's absolutely true. And it's always coming down the pike. I mean, yeah, a pandemic is huge, and we're all living through that, and that makes everybody, all the different generations, unique because we're living through something together. But change always takes place. It just accelerated it. And we're going to see that acceleration because, some people are like, I don't want to do that job anymore. So depending upon what your business is, there are going to be labor issues. Can we find people to work? How do we do it different? How can we meet each other's needs? And yet at the same time, a young lady came in here yesterday to do some video recording. And it was fascinating because instead of looking to all the technology, she went back to the basics, literally talking to people face to face, door to door. And she has got an incredible business recognized in her state. Now, the state is Montana. It's not as big as Charlotte, but in reality, she still is a big old fish because she recognizes that sometimes we have to go back to the basics in order to be able to meet customers' needs.
Chuck, let me ask you, and listening to Meredith's talk and talking about 85% of what we're doing is how we communicate with people. And as we are going into this space of creating digitally, social media, having to break things down in 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 60 seconds, we're having to get smaller and smaller with our messaging. Are you seeing that as challenges for business owners and entrepreneurs, especially practitioners who are so in the work, being able to kind of come into your space and create something that really kind of moves the needle forward quickly?
Yeah, in fact, I'll say this because it's kind of funny, because Meredith went through the 4 quadrants of who is what and so forth. The analytics have the hardest time because they want to know all the details in advance, which is counterintuitive to a creative who cares nothing about the details but just wants a concept.
Yep.
And for the most part, the things that when you start cutting the time down from 10 minutes to 5 minutes to 3 minutes to 2 minutes to 30 seconds, it has to be quick. It has to capture attention because we have no inclination to watch anything for any length of time. And the ones that do the best are the ones that capture emotion. Let me give you a quick example. Think about the Super Bowl commercials. When you see the little dog there with the Budweiser Clydesdales leaving and he's all distraught because the horses are gone and yada, yada, yada. And the next thing you know, you see, the little golden retrieval tail wagging in the window. It's kind of frozen over and the Clydesdales are coming back. And he's so excited because here they are coming back. Never once did anybody say anything about beer.
Yeah.
They knew the Clydesdales were delivering beer to the Super Bowl party. They knew they came back. It was good. The dog was happy and people were like, oh, and it was this heartfelt thing and people buy more beer. Why? Because emotion sells.
It's big.
Okay, so Chuck, Ben has got a podcast. Now, it wasn't until last Tuesday that I even knew what that was. Okay?
Not mine, just podcasts in general.
The podcast in general. That's right. And so I'm curious, how do you compete with the podcast and then the video on YouTube? Like for a guy like me, I find it hard to see the value in a podcast if you can add video to that. Walk me through the differences between those two things, because I got to tell you something. My son is at High Point University. He has taken 2 classes that is nothing more than learning how to do a proper podcast. And I'm thinking, where's the video in all of this? And it's not part of it. So for some reason, there's some differences here.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm a really practical guy, right? So if I'm going to do a podcast, which is effectively radio without radio, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's it. I'm talking. I may carry on a conversation with someone else, or I may not. It may just be a monocast, and that's the way it is, and it's just me sharing whatever. But it's audio. So if I'm going to do that, I believe in multi-purposing something.
That's right.
So if I were doing a podcast, I'm going to create my content. I'm going to shoot that content. Now, in my world, I'm going to probably read it off of a teleprompter on a green screen so I can make video because, Joe, I don't want to lose what I got. 1, I'll put it on the podcast. That satisfies the people that like podcasts and listen to audio. Great. Number 2, I'm going to take the podcast that was recorded on video and I'm going to put it on YouTube. Why not? It's free, so I may as well utilize that opportunity. And number 3, I'm going to transcribe the podcast or let artificial intelligence do that, and I will post it on my website as a blog. So The readers get the content. The people who are visual and want to see it get it on YouTube. The people who want to hear it driving in their car, listening on their earbuds, get it as a podcast. But to only do one facet of that, to me, misses the opportunity that's available to us, because the blog costs nothing to post, the podcast costs nothing functionally to post, and the video costs nothing to post, other than you've got to take the time to create these things in order to have your content available.
Yeah, no, Chuck, you're nailing it, because what so many people miss as they're trying to create content is they are going to do one thing. They're only going to do video, or they're only going to do audio. But if you can reproduce multi-purpose, so you can get on YouTube for full form video, and then you can take that and create a 1-minute clip, and then you get to put that on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, and you got your full audio on Spotify, and then you get to take a quote and you can make that into a graphic that you get to put on your social media. All of a sudden, now your 1 hour podcast is creating hours and hours and days worth of content that you just get to reproduce over and over. So I think you're nailing it.
Yeah. And look, here's the thing, and this is going to be really weird. So let me just go there, and I'm going to tell you
Chuck,
that on the front.
I've known you to be weird. Go right ahead. I expect it, buddy.
We're there already tonight, Chuck. It's okay.
So there's a website. By the way, I don't get paid by this company. This is not an affiliate thing, so I want to be crystal clear. And there are more than one, but the one I used was a website called Anyword, anyword.com. Okay, now what's the purpose of that? It is artificial intelligence writing your copy. I know that sounds bizarre, but you can literally go in, give it 4 keywords. It will write a title for you. Okay, if you like it, great. If you don't, it'll write another one. Once you decide what the title of your content is, it'll write the first paragraph, kind of a pithy paragraph.
Whoa. What's the name of this website again?
Anyword.com.
Anyword.com. Bill,
Okay.
did you know that existed?
You want me to say yes so I look smart?
Now, so let me tell you the backstory on this thing. So I saw this and I thought to myself, this is crap. There's no way that, an article can be written by artificial intelligence. So I thought, but I'll go and take my free trial. What the heck? So I did, and it wrote a title, and I was like, that's a pretty cool title. All right. It wrote the first paragraph. I was like, well, dang, that's pretty good paragraph. How many paragraphs do you want in your blog? I said 4. So it wrote them. If I didn't like it, I could change it. I can either personally change it, or I can say, I think that sucks. Write another paragraph. But in 5 minutes, I ended up with a 650-word blog that literally the computer wrote for me. What it does, apparently, is artificial intelligence goes into the Google world. I'm going to put it Google. It's not necessarily, just goes into the world. It finds what content are people searching for that are getting hits. So it synthesizes that, and then it writes an article around it that is guaranteed not to be plagiarism, and it will deliver that to you.
And just so everybody knows, Julie is keeping up with Chuck, and she's got on the book right now how you can click on any word right now and check that thing out. So I'm sorry, Chuck, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep going, buddy.
No, that's okay. I had a friend of mine, speaker friend of mine, who I shared this with. We were just carrying on a conversation, kind of like here. And I made some comment about it, and he typically will write short articles and put them on LinkedIn. And he said, normally I get, 350 views or so for the article. The Anyword article, he said, I got close to 10,000 hits.
Wow.
And I was like, holy crap.
Wow.
I've never gotten anything like that.
So I want everybody listening to this show, if you haven't heard anything else, you definitely learned something on that piece of information that Chuck just gave you.
I mean, the world we're coming to is that literally artificial intelligence will find out what people search for, therefore write about what people search for, so therefore more people will search for it, and you don't have to do it. Now, if I were sitting there playing with a podcast, if it's an interview, that's one thing, but if it's not, I'd let it write my content. Then I would deliver the content, audio, capture it on video, take the transcription, put it on my blog. I guarantee you one thing, you're going to get some hits and you'll be found. And in the world we live in digitally, you have to be found if you're going to sell your product and be successful.
So, Chuck, how did this guy who's an accountant, right, end up in an orange jumpsuit, right, get so technical and move in the direction of all of this stuff? Because I got to be honest with you, buddy, some days I got a hard time figuring out how to get my phone so I can take a picture fast enough. I mean, have you always been sort of this techie kind of person?
No, but okay, let me tell you this. Let's go back to Meredith for a second, okay? Because Meredith was talking about the analytics, wanting to know all the details and so forth. So I was a waste as an accountant. Let me just say that on the front end. I did not care if it balanced. If the bank statement was off by $1,092, but you have $10 million in there, it's immaterial. I don't care. A true accountant wants to get it all down to the details. And I was like, good Lord, you're wasting your time. But I could sell it. So consequently, I apparently was good at sales, sucked as accountant, and ended up ruining that whole career thing. And he ended up in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. But I understood over time, we all have God-given gifts. And mine are creativity and sales. So I'm creative. I like creating things. And if I can find an easier, better, more effective way to create something that can be cutting edge, that will make the difference with a small Greenville production company that gets to do work for the Center for Disease Control or NASA.
Chuck, I like that. And what you're talking to and speaking to, how much work do you do with your clients around mindset and being able to kind of shift that thinking? Because a lot of people may come in with, wait, I don't know if I can do this. Like Joe said, I'm just trying to figure out how to turn my phone on and get a picture. So how much work are you having to also do around, opening yourself up to thinking, to seeing another opportunity that lays right here? You create one piece of content that can be used in several different ways. Are you having to find yourself kind of having conversations like opening up that mindset, shifting that perspective so people can see a bigger picture here?
All the time. People will come in and they'll have an idea, well, this is what I want to do. And it's like, okay, great. I get that's your concept. The question is, who is your market? What problem do you solve? And when they stutter around the answer to that question, then the real issue is not creating video content, because that's the output to thinking about what is the mindset and how emotionally do you connect with your audience so that you can actually move the needle. So we spend more time with that than we do with the actual creation of physical video. And many times people come in with one idea and walk out with something different. And it's fun a year later to be able to look at it and say and see them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I'd have done this years ago.
I got to be honest with you. I've been asking questions all evening long, Tracy, and on the tubes, they're sitting over here saying, Tracy, great question.
Just because you've been asking questions doesn't mean they're great.
Exactly.
There you have it, Joe. Sometimes
Tracy got the validation.
Sometimes you don't, man. I'm just saying.
I got to tell you something, man. I need new friends, Chuck. I need them bad, buddy.
Yeah, there's no chance I'm invited back. Maybe because of Julie, but definitely not because of Joe.
Bill, you got another question, buddy?
I just like to, as much as Joe was giving you a hard time a while ago, I know you have had a profound impact, particularly on Lake Norman. What you've been sharing the last few years, what you continue to share with business owners. I'm just thankful that we have you on the show and sharing your insight.
Well, listen, I got to tell you, this is, to me, is fun. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody thinking I'm knocking podcasts. Podcasts are fine and they're great, but I like radio. I like terrestrial radio. I like the idea of having that conversation and know it's being blasted out there. And perhaps that's just my baby boomer mentality. But, the reality of it is you do connect with a lot of people, and that is profoundly important.
And if it surprises you, Joe doesn't know anything about podcasts. Mark Sanger here at the station doesn't let him operate the microwave.
Yeah.
Probably very safe there. I can see that.
Well, Chuck, Bill did say something. I don't think you know how much Bill and I appreciate you helping us over the years. We get every year many, I can't count them, people that come up to us and literally tell us thank you for this small business event, and they will remind us of statements that you have made, or they appreciate a speaker that we brought on the air that I didn't even know about unless Chuck introduced me to him. So you really have, and you don't know it because you live in Greensboro, right? And I know I owe you and your wife dinner, and I have yet to come up there and do that for you. But time after time, year after year, you keep helping us, my friend, and we really do genuinely appreciate it. And you are making a difference. And you might be, you know what, Bill? I think we created a celebrity here in Lake Norman. All he's got to do is get off the plane, and balloons will start to float up in the air.
Well, he's been here. He was one of the first ones that kicked off this small business event.
Absolutely. Yeah, but since then, we turned him into a superstar.
Oh, you've done that?
If I was a superstar, you would have fed me already. I mean, I was losing weight. I'm just telling you.
Chuck, are you hearing Joe's taking credit for your success? You hear that,
right? I hear that. And that's okay. I know somebody has to take credit for something, and it damn sure is not me. So it's fine.
So Ben, his point about the future of all of this podcast and videos and YouTubes and that sort of stuff, you are one of the people that introduced me to the fact that anybody can do this, right? That's how we met. I just ran across your podcast and I thought, wow, this is really good stuff.
Which means apparently the podcast was doing its job,
That's right. That's right.
It reached somebody
That's
that
right.
we had never connected before. So
that's right.
It's quite
that's
amazing how that
correct.
works.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when you hear Chuck talk about sort of expanding that, are you guys doing that now with your podcast?
Yeah, with what time we have capable, because with COVID, we've been doing everything via Zoom for a long time. We've done very few in person.
Right.
Everything was in person prior. We've done some in person since, but we record every Zoom video, and when we are live, we've got multiple angles of cameras going, so that way we can do the full video and audio pieces. And then we're creating a library of business clips and putting it in. Hey, here's growth content. Here's marketing content. Here's hiring content. All from our past lists or our past guests. So
right.
That way we have video as well as the full audio.
Hey, Chuck, I'm really interested to know, are there any new speakers coming online? I mean, isn't it like a horrible time to want to be a speaker right now? What does your industry look like?
Well, here's the thing. It's almost like there's two groups of people. There are people that sit back and look and say, you know what? Wow, this has been incredible. It gives me opportunities that I never had thought about. And I'm going to stop for just a second and use Meredith as an example, because she has pre-recorded her content so that when she is unavailable, she is available and therefore can sell it. Now, think about it. People around the world can buy her content now. They don't have to send her someplace. They don't have to worry about the dates. It's available. So that's one thing. The other thing is, there's a lot of really bright people out there who recognize that using the spoken word, whether it is in person, on Zoom, via podcast, in a pre-recorded mode, but using the spoken word is powerful. So some folks are toward the end of their career and are thinking, wow, this has really changed and I don't like the new environment. And others of us are looking at it and saying, holy crap, this new environment means things have really opened up and there's a bright future ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Julie and I sold our largest business ever this year, and we did it through Zoom. I never met the buyer. And if you'd have told me I was going to do that 2 years ago, I'd have laughed at you. I mean, I've sold businesses in Statesville and in Texas, never met the buyer or seller because of Zoom. And I'm telling you, it is remarkable how the clients are accepting that, which means, Chuck, I get to do more deals, right? Because I don't have to travel to Texas to meet them.
It's opening up the clients as well, right? So I have clients that I've never met before, but we can now have a relationship. They can hire somebody that isn't down the road or in their backyard. So clients and consumers are having more choices than ever before. They don't have to settle for what's in their community. They can go after like somebody like you that is phenomenal at what you do, but maybe you're not around the corner. Well, now they can still use you.
You hear that, Chuck? He's trying to see if he gets invited back next year.
I'm trying. I've got to dig myself out of that hole. Right?
Hey, he's working it well too. But listen, straight up, my wife and I put our house on the market, and it's kind of funny. The first person that looked at it was a jerk. I have Nest cameras everywhere, so I knew exactly what was going on, which, by the way, is really kind of cool. But he walked around the house, and there was a big black snake there, and they decided not to go in, didn't buy the house. But here's the point. The very next two people, it was a FaceTime experience. The realtor was there with her camera, phone, on FaceTime, turning it around, showing and talking about the house. That is the person that paid full asking price for the house, FaceTime, and they will not physically see the house until the day of closing.
Yeah, this is a completely. It is. You just said it, Chuck. It's a new world, buddy. We've got to go, but I want to give you a minute or so, my friend. What would you say? Because we're not just on the book. You understand? We are live on the radio. There are people right now listening, thinking about or have been thinking about their entire lives starting a small business. What would you say to them, my friend?
Well, the first thing I would say, if I'm thinking about starting a small business, I need to understand first, what problem do I solve? Now, that doesn't mean you don't have competitors in the marketplace, but there is something you solve for someone, because that's the purpose for being in business. And if I can identify the problem, I can then better identify the market, and then I'm probably going to look at what are my competitors are doing, because if I do it better, I win. And that's entrepreneurship to me.
Chuck, my friend, thank you so much, buddy.
My pleasure. Absolutely. Anytime. I love you guys.
I'm going to pack my wife up and get to Greenville so I can take you and your wife to dinner someday.
You're gonna pack your wife up. Did I just hear? You're gonna pack your wife up. Not pack your bag. You're gonna pack your wife up. Okay.
And someday he'll get here. Notice the color of my hair. Let's hope it's not when I'm in a casket. Okay?
He's going to do it by video. You're going to be where you are. He's going to be over here.
Virtual.
You guys are going to have a virtual dinner.
Virtual dinner. Yeah.
Hey, Tracy, you on to something there. Chuck, thank you, my friend. Thank you for everything, for all of the years, buddy. And I'd love to say I'll never do it again, but I'll talk to you next year, man.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.